Thanks, excuse me. Thanks, Henrietta. In addition to the exam specifics that I'll get into shortly, some of this is preparation even before you look at the exam. As Henrietta outlined, make sure you understand the requirements, the eligibility requirements, and the like. We'll share with you in a few slides here what is on the exam and how to prepare for the exam. A lot of, I think, the challenges for passing and completing the exam is time management. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I can't emphasize enough the idea of a support network. So having, whether it's colleagues or friends that are also pursuing the CPA, it's always good to study together and ask each other questions and things like that. And in addition to people that help you study, having the support network. So, hey, I can't go out Friday night, let me, I need to study. So having a supporting environment around you, as you pursue the license is critical. And then also relying on the exam partners, whether it's helpful hints from Prometric or from NASBA or from a review course provider or test prep provider. I think they're all there to help you in your journey. There we go. So currently the exam is 4 sections: audit, tax, financial accounting, and then business environment and concepts. Currently, so 4 sections, and each section of the exam is 4 hours seat time at a Prometric test center. The 18 months to pass is a little confusing because essentially that 18-month clock does not start until you pass your very first section. So once you passed your first section, then you've got 18 months to pass the remaining 3. The challenge is if you hit that 18-month time frame and you haven't passed all 4, you lose credit for that very first section. So essentially you'll need to pass all 4 sections in what we call a rolling 18-month window. There's a lot of information on the AICPA website around how the exam is scored. Obviously, some questions are worth more than others. So, and you're not going to be able to tell which ones are worth more. So I wouldn't advise you to try to figure that out. But a passing score is 75. And again, there's a lot of information on the website on how we actually score the exam. I'll talk a little bit in a second about the 5 testlets that are in each exam section. And because it's 4 hours, we do offer an optional 15-minute break in the middle should you need to get water or use the restroom, or you want a banana or a little bit of energy. There's that 15-minute break that helps you as well. So this is sort of the structure of the exam and what you would experience at a Prometric test site. Initially, you'll be presented with a welcome message. As Henrietta said, you have to bring your NTS to the Prometric Test Center, which has that launch code that is specific to you. You'll need to go through that process, and that only takes about 5 minutes. You don't want to get timed out. You want to do that efficiently. Then we'll ask you to look at the policy, confidentiality, and information. Essentially, this is copyrighted information that is owned by the AICPA. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're sharing exam content with other folks, and you don't want the AICPA coming after you for doing that. So you must keep that exam information confidential. Then most of the sections are, well, let's go through. So testlet 1 and testlet 2 are multiple choice question testlets. There is an optional break in between each testlet, although it's not recommended because the timer continues to run. In all of the sections, testlet 3 and testlet 4 is where we have our simulations, and that break sits in between testlet 3 and testlet 4. And when you do take this break, even though it's optional, if you do take it, the test timer stops. As long as you're back in 15 minutes, you can restart the test. If you take longer, that clock will then start. And then the last testlet for BEC, it's an essay question, but for all the other sections, it is more simulations. And then once you're done, we do survey we would like to hear your feedback on the exam administration. And I think it was in the intros that Henrietta and there's other staff that look at every survey, because that's how we improve the process. So we get a good response rate, and we really appreciate everybody's feedback. So 4 sections of the exam. Here's the 4: audit, business environment and concepts, financial accounting, and then regulation. You can see the different number of multiple choice questions within each section. Audit, FAR, and REG each have 8 simulations. And then on BEC, there's 4 simulations and then 3 essay questions in Testlet 5. So the different skill levels, we use a modified Bloom's taxonomy to assess the different content in the various knowledge, and in here, this is the skill levels. At the lower levels of remember and understand and application, most of the content assessed with these skill levels is in the multiple choice. We use a multiple choice question to assess those skill levels. At the analysis and evaluation levels, we're typically using a simulation, and there could be some analysis level skills that are assessed via multiple choice, but most of the analysis and evaluation levels are assessed via a simulation. And please note that evaluation is only assessed on the audit section. We don't have evaluation levels on the other 3 sections, and only on audit. If you take anything from today's presentation, I would, take a look at this slide and just remember this, that the exam blueprints are published by the AICPA, and they're kept current for each of the various versions of the exam that we publish. They're available on our website, and they outline how the content's organized, how the content's weighted. We talk a little bit about how the skills are allocated and how they're weighted on each of the various sections. We provide you with representative tasks, which are sort of like outlines or ideas around different kinds of questions. And then we also share with you the references that we're using, in these blueprints. They're downloaded. You can look at them, and if you know anything, we use these blueprints when we give item writers our needs, and we ask them to write item inventory, give us some inventory. So if we're using these blueprints to write items, I think it's great that you can use them to sort of understand what's on the exam. So here's an example of the summary blueprint behind audit. You can see that in audit, there are 4 major content areas, from ethics, professional responsibilities, and general principles down to forming conclusions and reporting. We share with you the weight of each content area, and then we cross that with the various skill allocation and the weights of those. So you can see at the top there, 5 to 15% of the weight of the exam is with simulations in evaluation. So again, this is all part of that blueprint and will help you better prepare for the exam. So this slide, I love this one because it really shows what the blueprint is. So at the top, you can see the various content group topics. In dark, general principles or general procedures to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence. And then there's the 4 skill levels: remember to understand, application, analysis, and evaluation. And then we've got various representative tasks. So the way I would study, for the exam is to look at each representative task, look at your test prep material, look at your textbooks, and make sure you understand what each representative task is asking you to do. And then we also share with you, for each representative task, what skill level we're assessing for those tasks. So again, as I mentioned, the support network, if there's a task that you're not familiar with or you're not sure about, that's a great incentive to chat with your friends and chat with your professors and others and the like to better understand that task and at the various levels that we're assessing that task.